Aloha and welcome to Butt or Fly. I'm gonna take a moment to try to explain what these things are on an academic level so that if you would like, you can write down these things, do some research to double check. Everything that I'm gonna tell you is a blend of information over time. But I'm gonna try to use logic to help us build an understanding of what this really is. And I'm gonna tell you in the beginning what it is, and I'll explain it in the end. In the beginning, your mind will have a difficulty because we're not familiar with it. But the things you're familiar with that you may not be able to believe is that this is enlightenment. Now, saying that it's enlightenment, your mind is probably fluttering. And the truth is, it's hard to explain exactly what enlightenment is to your mind. But I can explain it to you, which is enlightenment is an experience that you know. And when you have this experience, enlightenment is when you know what you know what you don't know, and you also know what you believe. And in knowing these three things, what you believe, what you know, and what you do not know, you're going to find is just starting the journey to enlightenment. And enlightenment is our ability to see these three knowings within us. And we get to choose. And if we're calm and we're aware of all and we enhance our knowing, you're going to find that knowing is your own personal experience. And enlightenment can be explained to you, can be told to you. But the only one that can ever experience enlightenment is you. While your mind is believing that it's possible, not possible for other people, this message is for you. This is the clarity of butterfly at this point in time, in this moment in your orientation in space, where your mind is fluctuating in the past, which is depression, and in the future, which is anxiety. There is a way for you to get grounded in the now. And the process of learning how to do that is one of the great benefits of trying to understand what this stuff is rather than believing it, is go on a journey and check it out for yourself. So if you decide, okay, let me check it out. Well, you're somebody that knows the only way to know anything is by jumping in. So before we jump in, there's a resistance that we have. And this resistance is the mind's need to know. And in time, you'll realize that I'm telling you, be aware that you don't know. Let that go. And you'll find the next morning is you'll wake up wanting to know. As long as you accept that you do not know. As soon as we start believing we know something, you're going to find it. You're off the journey. Belief is the one thing that we start going into our head and we stop living in the now. As soon as we start believing anything. And the truth is we've never lived this day using logic to remind yourself, to remind the mind, to use things that work, not the past, to try to not react, and we're going to try to respond. Now, all of these things is showing a belief and showing a higher knowing, a solution, a different way. And in time, your mind is going to see a different way. So the different way that I'm trying to show you, if I wanted to explain this so you understand, I would probably use the word yoga. We know of yoga, most of us, even if you don't know exactly what yoga is, you're familiar with it enough. And most of us know that yoga is physical exercise, but also there's an element of spirituality. There's a hint of people, they may realize that yoga is a union of the body, the mind, and the spirit, the essence of a person. But what we don't know is yoga, simply so you see it, is butterfly. Before butterfly, there was yoga. Before yoga, there was a thing called the Vedas. Long, long time ago on this planet, about 5,000 years ago, and some people say more, there was a group of men and women named rishis that wrote down things. They offer you to discover. This is the path towards enlightenment, the reality of the existential reality, as well as what's going on existentially with us and how we're believing and what is belief, and specifically what is knowing. Now, to understand what is belief and what is knowing, I'm going to explain that to you in the end to show it to you. But for right now, this quest of belief and knowing is probably a little foggy. And becoming more enlightened to the truth of this experience, in my head, this is the clarity. This is the enlightenment. This is when a human being knows what is knowledge and using knowledge rather than the mind constantly using information, using us. We're not grounded. When you get grounded, you start using information. In a weird way, it's like information is using us. We're hurtling through space and time, projecting out all of our mind's objections and opinions, and we have this right or wrong orientation that we believe. And in this, you'll realize this is a subjective way to look at life, because you are the object looking at life, and you have a subjective way, and you may even know that right now. However, this is our personality, this is our ego, this is what we believe. Now, a good thing is, in time, you can look at your belief and see if it's 100% true, if it's accurate in the now. You can do that later. But for now, this word, the Vedas, is beautiful. And I want you to connect the Vedas with yoga. But understand the Vedas came before yoga. So Veda basically means knowledge. And you can look it up. And there is great minds that have studied this. And I've mentioned many times these great minds. And I encourage people to go check it out. But specifically, I'll tell you what my mind is showing me is the Vedas was written down long, long time ago. The first non-Vedic culture in history that we know of is Egypt. Then comes Greece and Rome. Then comes Europe. And then comes the United States. And we symbolize these great civilizations, cultures of Egypt, Rome, and Greece. And you can see it. And the ideas is there because during that time, Egypt, Rome, and Greece were probably more connected to the truth of what was being passed on through the Vedas, which was ironically non-Vedic. So it was still information. There was knowledge that was being passed. It's like if you were to pass on what I'm teaching you to somebody else, they may get what you're teaching them, but they may not understand what I'm teaching you. So this is a game of telephone, of interpretation that we're passing on. Now we can pass on information, belief of what we remember, or what we think about things, or we can start passing on information about what works. Now what works is really what we should be focusing on, the things that work. And what we're doing compulsively is we're projecting out things that other people have done to us that doesn't work. Emotionally in this prison of the past, only because we're intelligent, only because something has happened and we remember it. Now, this Vedic and non-Vedic way of thinking, while there is a culture, which is the Hindu culture, that was created from the Vedas, this entire culture that we know as Hindu was grown out of the Vedas. It's not the other way. And it's to understand from the Vedas, you also have Buddhism. Ironically, Buddha says Vedas is not the way, but remember reverse psychology. For what he says is his words, Vedas is not the way. But if you know Buddhism and you look at the Vedas, you're going to see it's the exact same thing. The words, even. It's interpreted a little bit differently. Remember that game of telephone? However, there is knowledge that is on this planet of what works. There's a lot of belief about that gets passed on. But the main thing is what works and what works for all. And when we can find what works for all, you're going to find this is harmony, this is balance, and this is working with nature. Now, even though our culture, the West, comes from a non-Vedic line, it's important to remember that we are one family and you come from this Vedic line as well. In fact, this Vedic line is humanity. This is the information for all life, not just humans. If you're human, then you get the ability to practice consciousness, to experience it, for you to realize that you're a caretaker of everything consciousness sees. It is you. It is not somebody else. It is not for somebody else to take care. If you look around and you understand that we're alive and there's a beautiful planet, a lot of experiences that is going on in us. If you're without your mind in time and you're at peace, you're at ease, you'll realize that there is a Vedic way on this planet that is passed on through long time ago, but you can see it in Native American, Aboriginal, definitely could see it in the yoga culture. You can see it in the Polynesian culture. All these ancient ways, these ancient people knew about the star systems. They knew a lot of information, and they knew that we were all brothers and sisters. There's a crazy theory out there that says Hawaiians used to interact with Native Americans. They used to travel across the ocean, and the idea is there has never been any war that we know of, and this is more, if I know the essence of Hawaiians and what I believe the essence of Native Americans, this would be a celebration. It wouldn't be war. This would be two groups of people that are Vedic, that see the spirit in all, that knows even though we have different colors, we look different, we are all brothers and sisters on this planet. So this Vedic way is spirituality. It's a connection with Mother Nature. It's a connection with all. And this is found within all. And this Veda that I'm showing you is a scientific process of inquiry that goes inward. But in going inward, there is dimensions for us to look into. There is a beautiful power of three that I'm hoping to shine light on. To show you this, I can show you the three knowledges, and how you apply this helps you choose in the now. The three knowledges You can look it up on my website or my YouTube videos. I call it the Tree of Knowledges. The number 3 of knowledges, Tree of Knowledges. So this is pointing out the 3 knowledges is belief, knowing, and knowing how. Most of us reside in belief. And what belief is, the practical functioning of belief is, if I were to teach you about fire, I'm telling you about fire, the best thing you could do is believe me, and you might have some fire in your mind. You may have an image of what fire is. Now, this is knowledge, yes, but it's the lowest level of knowledge. This is knowledge that you have not validated, you haven't experienced. You're just believing. And it's important that you know who told you. A higher knowledge is when you know. This is when you experience fire for the first time. When you experience fire for the first time, you have a knowing in you. You have a consciousness is intelligence. You don't know everything, but you definitely know that the fire is warm, hot. And that knowing in you is a higher knowing than belief. Now, the highest knowing that we can strive for, try to attain, which will get you out of the lower level, which is belief, is if you are desiring to know how. If you desire to know how to start fire, and you know how to start fire, and the moment that you know how to start fire, you're going to find that you never need belief. You throw it away. You throw away all the lessons that you were remembering. Once you know how to start fire, this blesses you the rest of your life. So choosing wisely out of these 3 knowledges to get to know things rather than believing what it is a choice for every human being. And those who desire enlightenment only need to know it is attained by experience. But to experience it, you must desire to know who you are. Keep desiring to know who you are, and you might figure it out. Good luck on your journey.